and extend the spine, feet directly under the hips. Let's just take a moment to close the eyes as we roll the shoulders back and down, and just to arrive in the moment, because it may have been some time since we practiced. We're going to roll down through the spine, but I suggest you interlace the fingers so we can round the back a little bit, so chin to chest, rounding as we fold. You can take a little bit of a side to side sway here, so we're checking in with the spine, how the body feels. The knees are nice and soft. Come into your furthest forward fold and hang for a moment, so we can check in with the backs of the legs. You can either hold the shins or have the fingertips on the floor. We'll just tick-tock the hips side to side. Take your time so we're leaning into that outer hip stretch. Head's nice and heavy. I'll give you a prompt when we move, so no need to look at the camera. Just letting the hips sway side to side. And then we're getting ready to roll up through the spine. So release the fingers, wriggle the spine from the base up, one vertebra at a time. And at the top, we'll lift the arms overhead. And as if you're placing the hands in back pockets, slide the fingers down, roll the shoulders back, elbows together. And slightly press the hips forwards, chin to chest, lots of instructions, are you with me? And then lean the upper back away. So it's an upper back bend, hands on the back pockets to prevent a lower back curve. It's the elbows together and leaning, so thoracic spine extends backwards. And we'll go once more. This time, hands down the fronts of the thighs, giving the muscles, the legs a good squeeze, wake up on the way down. Once you find your fold, again, just a little tick-tock of the hips, side to side. And then rolling up through the spine. Soften the knees to press the heels into the floor, rebuilding the spine, coming all the way up, roll the shoulders back and down. We're going to lateral flexion of the spine. Legs a little further apart. Now with the left hand on the left thigh, we're going to slide over to the left. So let's start with the left ear to left shoulder. So there's no tension there, just a nice stretch on that right side of the neck. I'm mirroring you. And we're following the outer seam. And at the same time, we're staying right on. We're going to lift up to the ceiling. And we're stretching and lengthening from one set of fingertips into the other. Slightly tuck your bottom under, no sticking the bottom out, and try to avoid the head coming forward. So imagine you're standing against a wall. And then that two-way stretch, let's think about the fascia, that body stocking just under your skin, and stretching. So you'll have a full stretch across the arms, across the chest, and down that right side of the body. Engage your core, so navel to spine, and with this top hand as if it's pulling you back up to standing, come back to upright. Same to the other side. Start with the ear to shoulder. We'll slide down that outer seam, and then with this left arm, we'll stretch up to the ceiling. Feeling like you only stretch on the left side of the body. See if you can roll this top shoulder back, so it's more like you can see the armpit rather than the top of the shoulder, so we're not collapsing. And then we find that two-way stretch from one set of fingertips into the other. Ah, lovely. Engage the core to come up and feel the energy coming from this top hand, like you've got a hand pulling you up, back up to standing. For rotation of the spine, we're just going to take a gentle sway. If you're a bit limited for space, hold your shoulders and take a sway. Notice I'm lifting that back heel, so there's no awkward twisting of the knees, and just ease out the spine here with a twist. So because it may have been a little bit of a time since your last Pilates or yoga workout, I'm just going to quickly run through your plumb line, so with feet hip distance apart. Let's think about the pelvis as being a bowl of water, and just take a few rounds of pelvic tilts. So the bottom sticking out, we have this forward anterior tilt of the pelvis, and then the reverse, so that the pubic symphysis lifts up towards the ribs, and the tailbone dips down to the floor. So a few rounds just feeling that nice, gentle, non-aggressive movement, tilting of the pelvis forwards and backwards. Now we want to come to a neutral spine where we're somewhere in the middle. So let's find that slight tilt under the pelvis and go to the TBAs. So with the fingers into the fleshy part between the ribs and the crest of the hips. Let's clear our throat so we feel that engagement in the core. So hopefully you felt that. So that engagement, the same engagement is if I was going to tickle you, that kind of bracing yourself. Next, your pelvic floor. So if we think about the openings that we want to zip up, the back opening, pulling, closing, middle where applicable, and then the front. And then let's draw those elements all the way up. At the same time, your navel back to the spine, and then that bracing, pulling in of the TBAs, and now you're fully armored up. So we have a pelvic tilt. We're going to shorthand this to zipping back, front to navel, pulling in those TBAs, and standing tall. Last of all, your tech neck. We have your left finger on your chin, your right hand just holding the back of the neck. As you press the chin back, just feel a lengthening in the back of the neck. So it may feel like you're leaning back, but actually this is the perfect posture. So long through the legs, long through the tailbone, the pelvic tilt. Let's find the zip, the nicely tucked chin, and let's test our balance now. Arms by the side. So we're going to lift the arms parallel in front of the body. And now, as if there's a magnet on the top of your head, drawing you up to the ceiling, let's slowly peel the heels off. See if you can retain that sense of leaning back so that we keep that length right at the beginning and lowering the heels. We'll just go through a few rounds of lifting and lowering through the heels. At the very beginning, when we did that flexion forward of the spine and then leaning back the thoracic spine, the intention is to keep the upper back nice and long. Don't worry if you're wobbling, the brain will calibrate. Shoulders back and down, zip, navel to spine, armor up with the TBAs and rise up through the heels. So with that concentration that your balance will have required, we're ready to go. Shake out the arms, shake out the legs. We're going to take the legs into a wide position. So standing wide, toes slightly turned out, hold the thighs, and we're going to open, work on that hip opening. So hands along the thighs as we bend the knees, knees opening wide, coaxing the knees to that slightly wider position. Heels pressing down to the floor, squeeze your glutes and rise up. So let's have two more like this. The shoulders back and down, find that tilting of the tailbone, the pelvis, and gliding down. So knees open, inner thigh stretch, so you can keep the chest open and forwards. Nourish the knees, press into the heels to come up. The next time, the last time, we'll come into this kind of goddess squat. We'll hold the knees and add on a deeper spinal twist now. So as you take a twist, opposite shoulder to knee, and feel that twist as you maybe sink a little bit lower. Ease center and over to the other side. So we're preparing for a little flow between a goddess and a modified standing saw. So hopefully your inner thighs are feeling a little bit warmed up. Now your hips are ready. Let's come to a standing position. I want you to hold your left shoulder with your left hand and peel the armpit forward so your bicep now points up to the ceiling. Keep that openness in that left shoulder. And with your right hand, we're just going to glide into a twist towards that opposite ankle. Come back up to standing, and we'll do the same to the other side. So hold the shoulder, roll it back to get that external rotation of the shoulder, twist, and we'll glide. So now we're going to loop those two things together. We'll come into a goddess squat with a cactus arms, and then we'll take that roll and twist. So when you're ready, Knees tracking over the toes. Let's lift the arms wide. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, knees open wide and come into your goddess strong position with these cactus arms. So here's our first. Feel the weight into your heels. Open the knees out as wide as you can. Feel some engagement in the core. You can even test them here. Now press into the heels to come up. Hold your left shoulder, roll it back, and take that spinal twist to the opposite ankle. If you've got a good level of twist and you feel secure with your balance, look up to the ceiling. Then press into the floor to come back up. Hold the other shoulder, roll it back, and take a twist to the other side. So if you're feeling a little bit more energetic, feel free to go quicker than I am going. So we can take that goddess squat, knees open wide. Here the tendency will be for the fists to come forwards, elbows back. So work those postural muscles to get the fists back. All right, hold the shoulder, roll back and twist. So your lifted shoulder, open, elbow to the ceiling. Taking it to the other side. And we'll have one more round. So if you're going at a slightly different pace, just want to make sure that we've evened ourselves out left and right. Pulling down, feeling strong and open. See if we can get that pelvic tilt of the pubic bone up to the ribs, so there's that strength in the core. Coming up, taking that twist, wide leg twist, keeping that externally rotated shoulder. So we finish to the last side. Take a twist. Well done. Let's toe and heel the feet in together, and we'll work with the legs together so we tone the inner thighs. So we're thinking about a squat now. So when you're ready, hands on the fronts of the thighs. Let's sink back so the weight's going into the heels as we bend the knees. But see if you can keep long in the spine. So here, the head not coming too forward. Remember that what it felt like to press the finger into the chin and lengthen, have no ripples on the back of the neck. Able to wiggle the toes because the weight's into the heels, and then press into the floor to come back up. So let's have two more like that. Squeeze the knees together. Check your inner thighs are engaging. In this position, if you feel secure, the arms can come up parallel. Let's think about that zipping from the back to the front, the pelvic floor, the pull in, your arm are pulling in around your waist, pressing into the heels and coming up one last time. Squeezing the glutes, squeezing the knees together, sinking low, weight into the heels. Option to keep holding the thighs or extend the arms long through the spine. So space for a fleshy peach under the chin. Pressing into the floor to come all the way up. Well done. Shake out the legs. We're going to come into a high lunge. Sometimes it's easier to come into a high lunge for the balance by coming into a wide leg position and then turning. So if you want to try that, wide legs, and then turn your front toes towards me and angle your back heel away. Hands into those back pockets, and let's see if we can lift the back heel. So you'll see the hips are square to the front. Tilt the pelvis under, and now gently bend the front knee. We're going to stretch the calf of the back leg. So we'll slowly lower the heel towards the floor whilst tilting the pelvis. So we're stretching the hip flexors of the back leg and the calf of the back leg. Press into the ball of the foot to rise up. Get as much flexion into those toes as you can, heel nice and high, and then lowering down. So tailbone towards the floor, chest open wide. From holding the shoulders in that standing soil, you may be able to retain that feeling of openness across the shoulders. Nice nurturing movements, no forcing. We're going to add a little bit of a balance challenge here. Interlace the fingers, index fingers pointing up to the ceiling, and let's stretch. So your back heel is lifted. Now we're going to draw small circles on the ceiling. If it was already a challenge for your balance, feel free to lower that back heel. So it should be, manageable balance. So either with the heel down, or if you want the extra challenge, keep that heel high. We're going slowly enough that we can feel the torso engage and hold us in place. Let's have one circle this direction before we change. You're doing well. It's a hot day. Breathe, take a rest if you need to. So when we're changing directions, you may have a slightly different sensation. It may challenge your balance in a slightly different way. So be kind and patient with yourself. Whatever you're doing, whatever level you're doing, you're giving your brain a rest from whatever you may be fixating on or having to work on, concentrate on. So giving the mind a little bit of a break and focusing on the body. Drop the arms, step the legs together and shake out the leg, going to the other side. So if you stand wide facing the other direction, turn your front toes, hopefully the other leg forwards, and let's angle the hips to face forwards. If you can, lift that back heel now, and then let's find that pelvic tilt, softening the front knee, and then we'll lower that back heel. So definitely want to avoid if you have any niggles in your Achilles tendon. So just feeling your way in, always know the difference between the right sort of discomfort. So shoulders back and down, training the tailbone down towards the floor. Hopefully you're getting a nice hip flexor stretch on the front of this thigh. Gliding up and down, no forcing the heel to the floor. Breathing deeply. Amazing. If you can remember which thumb was on top, see if you can switch and have the other thumb on top, the one that feels a little bit strange. We'll extend the arms overhead, just feel that lovely stretch. And then option, maybe it's enough to stand, or still in this position with a pelvic tilt. If you wish, add on that gentle circling of the arms. This is the last bit of standing work, so if you're getting a little bit hot and tired, stick with it, you're nearly there, and we'll be down to sit on the floor. So let's remind ourselves of that zip. Can you feel where the back opening is, front, navel to spine, engaging those lower abdominals, breathing deeply in and out of the nose, and let's change direction. So remember, the back heel can be down. We can stay upright and just feel that lengthening of the spine. Feel free to put the hands on the waist as you circle. Amazing. All right, let's step the legs together. Give that active leg a good shake out. I'm going to lower the camera and make your way down to the mat. We'll start with legs out in front of you, and we're going to be going for this spine stretch. So, are we ready? Legs out in front of you. Make sure you've got space to roll that, as we will be in a moment. Move the flesh away so you can sit tall on the sit bones. Fine to sit on the block here if that feels more stable. Let's take a moment to hold the legs, puff the chest out. Let the shoulders drop down away from the ears. Now zipping up, navel to spine, and let's take the arms parallel to the floor. Take a breath in, lengthening, telescoping the ribs, spine long, and as you breathe out, leaning forwards as if you're trying to reach something just beyond your toes. Discomfort in the lower back, effort is good. We need to stress the soft tissues in order to strengthen them, and we'll come back up to sitting. So every time we come out of the spine stretch, let's make sure that we always return to a really nice long spine, nice upright position. With the spine stretch, the head does dip forwards at the same rate as the spine. If this is very deep in the backs of your legs, you can add a little bit of a bend in the knees, and that's absolutely fine. I'll let you do one more before we add on that inevitable roll back. So make sure you have space to roll back. And here, you can take it into a kind of C curve, or you continue all the way, one vertebra at a time, lowering down to the mat. Big breath in with the arms overhead, breath out, lower the arms, chin to chest. reach for something beyond the toes, slow, controlled movements, lovely upright position, and then down into the spine stretch. Let's make this a continuous movement. So you can see that we have all the same benefits if we take the C curve and then back up to sitting into the spine stretch. Fine, whichever you feel more comfortable with. One extra aid that we can use is interlocking the thumbs. That action of interlocking the thumbs and almost pulling the arms apart gives us that engagement in the upper back. So it's strengthening, and it means we're not outsourcing all of the work to your core muscles. So as we have chin to chest rolling up, we can pull on the thumbs, navel to spine, and that might be enough just to give you a smoother lift. Let's have one more. Complete round, one vertebra at a time, find that control. Pulling apart, strengthening for the arms, it's not cheating. Deep breath in here, and breathing out, chin to chest, rolling all the way up. Lovely upright position, we're coming into our supine work, so now bend the knees, your last roll down till the spine finds the mat. Brilliant. So let's first of all find that pelvic tilt for a neutral spine. There should be a gentle curve in the lower back. Maintaining that, take your right leg to tabletop. And you can already anticipate the transition of lifting the second leg should mean you have to engage the core extra hard to come to full tabletop. We led with the right, so we'll lower the right leg first and then the left. Now, if you're finding it super easy to keep the spine in exactly that same neutral position, feel free to advance straight away to 2 legs up to tabletop and 2 legs lowering. But to be honest, that transition from 1 leg to 2 is enough of a challenge for most of us. Just keeping the spine so there's no change in the curvature, just that natural curve in the spine, which we need. If you're taking a single leg lift, see if you can alternate, start leading with the left and then the right. Lead with the left to lower, the right lowers. So have one more set, your level. If you want to go for 2, just be really fussy with yourself about keeping the spine in exactly the same place. I'm shaking, and I've practiced this fair bit. It doesn't necessarily get that much easier, but it's a great way of stabilizing the pelvis, getting those core muscles strong. If you struggle generally with overarching the back, it's sometimes better to fully imprint the spine. So if that feels more secure, go ahead with that. So if you've completely set your arm, then hug the knees into the chest and have a little rock on the spine. You're doing really well. This is a warm day and first day back. Let's go to the open V, coming to a tabletop position where we're challenging the core. So that means in towards the chest with the knees is easier, more challenging to maintain neutral spine, the legs further away. So find your challenge points, and then keeping the knees in this bent position, we breathe in, opening the knees wide, zip up and close. Arms can be wide in a wide capital T, palms facing upwards, so we can go back to that openness across the chest. But the principle of keeping the natural curves of the spine at the same, unchanging, even as we destabilize the pelvis of the body with this opening and closing, stays the same. Now, if it's too much, remembering we can draw the knees a little bit closer into the chest. If we're finding it more fluid and easy, less of a challenge, we can extend the legs a little bit further away. See if you can even out to make this a really nice smooth movement on both the opening and the closing. Last one, and then we're going to take a twisted branch A lovely twist for the spine. So listen carefully, feet to the floor. Cross your right leg fully over the left. If you can hook the toes around the ankle, do that as well. So the right leg is on top. Lift the hips from the floor and adjust the hips over to the right edge of the mat. And then lower the knees to the left. So did we get that? The right leg's on top, lift the hips, settle the hips down towards the right edge of the floor, and gently, gently rock the knees down. So spinal twist. If this is a deep twist for your spine, give the lower back a little bit of nurture and a rub. We can sway. Otherwise, if you're fairly comfortable here, you can open your arms wide and look across to your right palm. Aiming to get the shoulder blades on the floor and soften head to toe. Wherever we work the core, it's nice to give the spine a little bit of a release with a twist. Give yourself one more complete round of breath on this side. And then supporting the lower back, if you need to, adjust the knees back up to the center, and we'll change the cross in the legs to square up with the rest of the body. Left leg over right. Press the feet into the floor so we can lift the hips and adjust the hips to the left. This time the knees are falling over to the right. The reason for doing this is just so that if we had an aerial view of the body, we still have a straight line of the spine. If we leave the hips where they are, we've got a kink, which is less helpful. Whenever you take a spinal twist, it's really nice to keep a long spine to make it a really healthy, helpful twist. So if it's comfortable, you look across, turn your head to face the left hand. Otherwise, just giving yourself a little bit of a head roll to ease out any tension in the neck and shoulders. Also with the hips, allowing them to sway side to side if that feels a little bit more nurturing. We're going to finish off with a pigeon, but there are modifications that we can take if that's not for you. So slowly untwist. You can just windscreen wiper out the legs, and we'll come straight away up onto all fours. And from this position, we're going to glide the right knee forwards. Doesn't matter if you're sitting on the heel or you don't come so far forwards, it's fine. The foot can come up closer in line with the knee if that's okay for your knee. Otherwise, we're just going to have a nice nurturing sway to ease out the hips. It's actually more of a swiveling action over that front knee. If this back knee needs to bend, so we're in more of a mermaid position, equally this is fine. As we fold over the front knee, whether with a straight back leg or bent, we're getting a nice bit of nurturing for those external rotators of your front hip. So enjoy the moment. We'll one more breath here, and we will take it back to all fours in order to transition. So either we're in mermaid and folding, a little bit of a sway, just checking out where there's tightness, or in the full pigeon. Let's get ready for the last side. You're near the end of your session. So a little sway of the hips, and then let's get ready to take the left knee forwards. Be nice and gentle. You can toe in the knee, your back leg further away to deepen the stretch. And again, find a nice rocking or swiveling action, adding on the shoulders, if that feels nice for the hips. All that easing out and finding length and space in the joints now. No forcing. If you wish, come into a more restorative pose onto the forearms and gently rock. So you can now take a Shavasana, you can stay in a restful pose, take a child pose if you wish, and there's your 30 minutes. So if you're ready to come out, slowly come back to all fours. I suggest you give yourself a little bit of a hip shake, give yourself a moment before you launch into the rest of your day, but really well done, and it's so nice to be back.